Blaze Thompson's joining me now right before the second half. Coach, can you give us an update on Chris Dunkley, your star wide receiver, who went down?
He's questionable second half.
What kind of changes are you going to make to your game plan to help fill in the void?
Well, we want to control the clock. That's just point blank. Want to maybe go double tight. A couple of things we're going to just do differently, but main emphasis is controlling the clock.
You told me the difference in this game right now was your point of emphasis, going after their kicking game. It cost them 2 extra points, and you got the touchdown at the end of the second half. What are you going to do in this second half to keep the momentum in your favor?
Well, we're going to continue doing that. We're going to try and stop their pass. We got to make tackles. We got to make plays. We've had him in our grasp a couple of times. They made big plays. If we can prevent that, we can pull him down, sack him. We'll be fine.
And we are back for the second half of what has been a wild first half of the 2009 Muck Bowl. And here's the kickoff. And that's out of bounds through the end zone. The score here, 21-19, Pahokee leading Glade Central.
The whistle must have blown. And of course, we can't hear the whistle
right
up here. So the dead ball foul is then penalized on the ensuing kickoff.
Makes sense. Okay, so there was another penalty here. This one on Pahokee, because Glades is kicking it from the 50. Oh, but they're kicking it again.
Glades, yeah.
Or maybe they were kicking it from the 45. All right, so here's the kick. This one much shorter, and they're going to let it bounce out of bounds. The flag and
now we're going to get back to where it was originally kicked off from the first place.
Right. So
it's amazing. But speaking of the first half, Dan, you can't rest. Coach Thompson talked about tackling, and I think he's hit the nail on the head. I think the team that tackles better in the second half is going to be the team that wins.
All right, getting ready to, with their first possession, offensive possession of the second half, the Blue Devils, who just miraculously took that lead by blocking a field goal attempt by the Raiders and then returning it, Merrill Noel returning it all the way for a touchdown. And that's where we stand. Now, legal procedure against.
Now, I'm really surprised here, Dan, that they didn't take that penalty and make them kick that ball again.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. But let me once again
that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Let me thank our sponsors quickly before we get to this player. One of our sponsors. This year's Muck Bowl, of course, is presented by the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, also the Education Network and the City of Pahokee. And we'll get to the others as we get our chances. But right now, 1st and 10 for the Blue Devils to Joshua Johnson over center. In the I formation this time, and he's going to give it the left side to Miller. Skips forward for about, I would say, 3 or 4 yards. So Pahokee opens up on the ground.
With a packed offense. In other words, a traditional offense with one split and in the I formation. I think Pahokee feels like they can run the football if they stay away from the penalties and, they don't get any fumbles or anything like that. I think they can run the ball too. This Glade's defensive line is seen a very good offense tonight.
2nd and 6 now. The Blue Devils still in the I. Again, it's going to be Miller to the left side. He's going to be stopped, though, short. Only another yard on that. Probably going to bring up a 3rd and about 4.
Very good play by Alanda Shaw. I believe number 10.
I couldn't see. It was on the far side of the field and a lot of bodies in the way.
I believe it was number 10. He did a nice job of stringing it out to the sideline and making the tackle. So now we've got, 3rd and 4?
3rd down and 4 to go for Pahokee. Also, we can tell you that receiver Chris Dunkley, who you saw had a hamstring injury, is questionable for returning the second half. So this could be another reason why the Blue Devils are going on the ground. But now they're going to put it up. The short screen pass to the left and some room to run on the left-hand side, and that will be good enough for the first down.
Really good call, Dan. That's the first screen pass we've seen tonight, traditional screen to the running back. And, again, they ran off the receivers ran off. So we dumped the ball over here. We're going to see it on the replay.
And that was, once again, Merrill Noel, who has really, really been a workhorse so far this game.
Absolutely.
Getting a lot of touches.
But we get a nice first down here. I have seen a lot of good blocking downfield, Dan. Nobody's given up on their blocks, and that's a testament to the coaching staff.
All right, so 1st and 10 now. Ball on the 45-yard line. Give to the right-hand side. That's Noel, and he's got nowhere to go on this one.
Yeah, Isaiah Corbett coming off the defensive end, outside linebacker position, makes a real nice play and brings him down, actually with loss of a yard.
Okay, more of our sponsors to thank. J.P. Sasser and Raymond Hamilton. Lake Okeechobee Outpost. Big Dog Express of South Florida. Diane Walker, Tammy Bussey, Residential Appraisal Specialists, Inc., and Friends and Family of the Western Communities. And more to come, but right now, 2nd and 11 for the Blue Devils. Quick throw to the flat. He's going to be smothered, though, by number 16, Jamoris Rowley. The pass went to Everin Morgan.
Well, it looks like the Glades coaches at halftime went over tackling, because watch this. See, this quarterback looks right at his receiver, which gives the defensive back a leverage to come up and make that hit. That's why looking off is so important in playing the quarterback position.
Yeah, and it's a skill of the better defenses when you've got your linebackers and corners who can cover that well and tackle that well after the catch. So 3rd down and 10 now. Looking to throw, but he is tackled to the ground, a sack by number 22, Robert Way, who gets in there, and finally that defensive pressure that we talked about with Glade Central is coming to
Way
fore.
actually didn't play much at that position, but he makes a nice move. He starts with a speed rush, but then he comes back underneath, and the offensive tackle for Pahokee, that would be number 54, Richard Ash, had his hands full there and couldn't deal with the quickness.
Yeah, and I was going to say, he looked too big to be a defensive lineman, but he is listed on the roster as a defensive end at 6'2", 185. So quickness there. Oh, the fumble on the punt here. And DeJoshua Johnson is going to be stopped. And the Raiders, with a big break there, who were on the other side of a bad break at the end of the first half, now get the ball in prime territory.
Now that really was all on number 2, because DeJoshua Johnson got a good snap and just fumbled the football. But
and you can tell he's really upset with himself.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much talent on the field, but quite honestly, I've seen better kicking games with other teams.
Yeah.
It's the one area that needs a lot of improvement.
All right, 1st and 10 for the Raiders. L.J. Thomas going to give it to the left, but I hear whistles. And we have heard way too many whistles in this game as well. This being the 10th and final game of the regular season, a lot of these penalties are penalties that should be prevented.
Well, and taking some of blaming of the officials a little bit, because the flow of the game, they're trying to keep the game under control. And the way you do that is call all the little penalties. And it looks like, because you're right, these two teams by the 10th game aren't making all these penalties.
We've only had a couple of holding calls. Most of them have been in the kind of the procedure or offsides. So, 1st and 5 for the Raiders. They give to the left side. Some hard running. Going to get a gain of about 3 or 4. It's going to be maybe a yard short of the first down, which brings up a 2nd and 1. Now, I guess we don't go for the field goal this time if our drive stalls.
I don't think that's going to be the call. Another hard running back. It's just so impressive to see every single person that touches the ball is good and quick.
All right, lining up quickly on 2nd and short. Thomas going to give it to Chisholm over the right side. Chisholm breaks the tackle, and it looks like he's got the first down by a couple of yards.
Yeah, both teams have taken the philosophy coming out here in the second half that they want to run the football. And I think it's a good move. It settles the game down a little bit and takes time off the clock, and both coaches have the same idea.
Guess what? You got it.
So it is another 1st and 10, not 1st and goal because the Raiders still could get a first down inside the 2-yard line. So it's 1st and 10 from the 12. Thomas got 3 wide receivers, but he's going to give it to Chisholm up the center, and Chisholm is driving and trying to get to that end zone, but now Pahokee is saying they have the ball. Do they? No, down. The official is ruling the ball down at about the 3-yard line.
Now, a really tough run by Chisholm, off tackle to the left side, but I'm going to point out again, let's look
and we
at
got
the
a replay
here. And notice where the ball is. The ball's in his right hand.
Yep.
And he's going to his left, and that's a fundamental error. I'm sorry, but it is. And we'll see if the ball comes out or he's down.
That is
replay,
a tough call.
We have to say that I would say that the ball's out.
And take a look.
Knee is not
again,
down.
his knee's not down. His shoulder is down, but it's coming out. That is a tough call right there.
Exactly, and that's why they have replay in college football and pro football.
I got to say, I think that might have been a fumble if it were reviewed, but that was so close. Very hard for the officials to get.
If the officials had a chance to look at that, Dan, I think they would have overruled the call.
So the Raiders dodge a bullet.
And how big is that?
That's
because
huge.
You're down to the 2-yard line.
Down to the 2-yard line. Now about the 3, because we've got they're showing 2nd and short. So the Raiders need less than a yard for the first down. Here's Thomas looking over the defense. The give is to the right-hand side and going in, and no flags. Chisholm went through for what looked to be the score, but we got whistles again. And let's see what our referee says. Illegal procedure.
I'm not seeing a lot of these motion penalties, and I'm looking real hard. It must be one of the wide receivers or maybe one of the interior linemen, but I'm not seeing it. And I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm just not seeing any flagrant violation of the rules.
And by the way, we want to thank George DeGuero and Pro.avi of Miami for supplying this great 3-play replay system that we're using tonight, especially on that fumble you saw. Some stuff we could never do before, and that's really neat. It's a nice toy for us to play with during the game. Okay, here we go. 2nd and 6. The give to Chisholm around the right. And he had a little room initially, but the Blue Devils closed the gap, and he's going to be stopped for no gain or just a very little gain.
And now you have a huge 3rd down again.
Yeah. So now it's going to be 3rd and 2. Yeah, he thought he was marking it a little bit farther ahead than he had actually gotten.
Replay coming up here. It's a off tackle that he bounces outside, and Pahokee does a good job running to the football. For some reason, both teams decided to tackle this half.
Yeah, you know what, Chisholm, what I could not see, which I now saw on the replay, is how well Chisholm did to get a couple of more yards out of that once the initial contact had happened. So 3rd and about 3, call it maybe 2.5 for the Raiders. Thomas back. He's going to throw the ball. It's going to be picked off. It is picked off on the left-hand side by Zachary Allen. And Zachary Allen's going to return it out past the 20-yard line. Wow, another huge play, another game-changing play by the Blue Devils.
Well, I'm going to call that justice because I think the fumble was a fumble, and I think Pahokee should have had the ball. But that was the most glaring error that Demetrius Evans has made the whole night, or excuse me, Thomas has made the whole night.
Here's the replay. Now, you just saw the tail end of that Allen get that ball. He is listed as 6'1", 190, but he sure seems to play bigger than that on the field. He looks bigger than that.
He's been Pahokee's best player tonight so far.
Yeah, he has provided a lot of defensive pressure, and right there you saw how he can get up there and grab a rebound.